didn't want to do, and this is important for people to understand, was we didn't want the foundation to be in control of the network at the point of distribution, because if anything went wrong with our validators, the whole network could be taken down. And the whole point of a decentralized network is that it's robust and secure because it has distributed validation, or at least one of the points, not the whole point, but a very large point of having a decentralized network is that it's not dependent on one entity.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Mickey B. Fresh, and we are go for launch for the FLR network. Genesis has occurred, and the blockchain built for universal connectivity with other blockchains and real-world use cases. The network has entered a minimum of an 8-week observation period to reach sufficient decentralization ahead of the public distribution event. At Genesis, the foundation will control 100% of the validation power. During this period of observation mode, the validation power will get transferred from the foundation to independent validators who are also FTSOs. Now, this is done not using proof of stake, not using proof of work. And this is a network launch. And there's not enough talk about the network will be decentralized. Let me repeat that. Decentralized consensus when you receive your token airdrop. This is one of the biggest airdrops and token distribution events. It's really not just an airdrop. It's a distribution of the native token. And that's really what's important to understand here. We were lucky enough to have the ability to participate, some of us, in the snapshot for the FLR network back in December 2020. But it's to distribute the token and for those to participate in the network. That's who's going to earn the most rewards and who's going to benefit. So in this video, we're going to go through a couple different things. We're going to go through how broad and vast this distribution is. We're going to go through the timing of the launch. Was this the right time to launch? Was it ideal? Or would have a bull market been better? We're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about FLR's team and how out of their 13 top engineers, 8 are doctorates. So just to give everyone like a sense of the quality and level of engineering, let me repeat that. 8 of the top 13 engineers are doctorates. Let that sink in. That's who built this network. So there is a difference between dApps and developers and then engineering teams who have spent 5 years on the vision to build this. And they didn't do it to give out free tokens. They built it with the anticipation for you to participate as a citizen in the network. The whole crypto market is changing. And we're going to go through this transition. And I know there's a lot of noise in the community, and I'm the opposite of that noise. Because we need to start focusing on not necessarily just the price and crazy secret ledgers and Fed buybacks. That's all irrelevant. What is relevant is what's happening right here in front of you that you can participate in, that you could build yourself a substantial amount of wealth from the beginning at the ground floor. But just to give a sense of how large this network is, Hiugo was hosted by Bearable Bull, who did an amazing interview a week or two ago. So we're going to go through a few clips there, and we're also going to talk about the token distribution and the proposal that Hiugo mentioned in that interview and why much of the community has misunderstood what that proposal is. And I'm here, and I'm going to clear it up. There were even some people who described it in a way that is misleading. And we're going to touch on that. That'll be right after we go through how vast this launch is.
So don't forget, this is pretty much the largest distribution of tokens taking place for a very, very long time. We're not just distributing to a few people, predominantly people that are maybe inside investors. We're distributing to potentially, I don't know what the number is, but we have 350,000 wallets on Songbird itself, or addresses, more than 350,000. And more than 100 of those addresses belong to exchanges. And I'm not certain how many people there are behind those exchanges, meaning, people will receive the FLR token. But one could estimate it's definitely, if you think for every self-custody person, there's probably between 10 and 20 non-self-custody people. So that, and we have 350,000 addresses, then you think that there may be between, 3.5 and 7 million potential token holders. So it's potentially a really large distribution, and 70 non-self-custody people.
So this is a massive token launch and distribution event. So for 8 weeks, we're going to have an observation period. What is this observation period? It's not there to do testing. It's not there because they want to delay the airdrop. It's there to create a decentralized consensus when the distribution takes place. Let me repeat that. Decentralized consensus when the token is distributed to millions of accounts. There is very few, I don't know if there's any network that's ever launched with a distribution to millions of existing community, a large, probably one of the biggest communities in all crypto, and has had a decentralized consensus at the same time. And then shortly after that, we'll have a DAO governance implemented into it. So these are things that are groundbreaking and breakthrough. So this is not hype. These are facts. And these are facts that need to be understood. This is not an airdrop. That's just part of the distribution. It's part of the distribution. It's a network launch that you have the opportunity to participate in and be a citizen of, and be able to, you will be massively rewarded early on. All right, so there's going to be this 8-week observation period. This will transfer validation power from the foundation's validators to the FTSOs who will be running validators. This transfer of validation power will not be based on token value. It will not be based on mining power or hash power. It will be based on vote power and reward rate of those FTSOs submitting price feeds to the time series oracle during that period. So that's what will be this transfer of this validation power. This is revolutionary. It's superior to proof of stake. You're not wasting the token trying to secure the network. And we don't need to talk about the negatives of proof of work. I think everyone knows that by now. So once the foundation's power is below 33%, the threshold for the foundation to control the network in any way, bringing FLR to a decentralized state of operation. That's when the token distribution event will occur. But in the meantime, the groundbreaking technologies of the state connector, the time series oracle will be launched and they will be live. So those are key pieces of FLR's network. So we're going to get those core, the two oracle systems that are based on probabilistic data for the FLR time series oracle, and the state connector is the eye in the sky that's based on deterministic. That is the only oracle that uses a consensus model to come to consensus on external data. And that's powerful because one thing that people, I don't think, realized, but being able to bring in trustless data that can trigger execution of a smart contract is going to be game-changing. And these DApps, it's all about the DApps building on top of FLR. These are networks that are going to be infrastructures for our future financial system. They're in development, they're all around, and they're going to keep growing. FLR is launching at the perfect time with the perfect technology to create interoperability between Web 2, Web 3, and also between other blockchains and FLR network. And dApps will be able to deploy once and be able to connect to all those other networks with LayerCake. Then we have the F-Asset system, which is going to allow you, if you have XRP, or if you have BTC, or if you have Doge, to be able to mint those onto FLR. But the idea here is for the community to understand you have an opportunity to earn as much Spark as possible if you participate early. And then that will allow you to even earn more rewards and self-mint those F-assets when they become available. All right, so now let's move on to the next clip from Hiugo.
Exchange. So
yeah, well, like I said, the idea behind the proposal is to distribute directly through the network, such that you get the 15% through your exchange, and then the rest is distributed through the network. Up to you whether you decide to receive it through the network. Obviously, such that you get the 15% through your exchange, and then the rest is distributed through the network. Up to you whether you decide to receive it through the network. Obviously, if you don't, you won't get it. But you need to engage with the network to receive the rest.
And that's an important proposal. I pray that it passes. Thank you for doing it.
And Bearable is so right when he says, I hope that passes. I'm going to break this down very as simple as I can, but you have to understand that the distribution of the token, it's a proposal. So this means the community will vote on this distribution after FLR network airdrop has occurred, the 15% of the claim. If this distribution passes, this proposal, that claim is no longer yours. It's not attached to your 15% at all. But it's better because here's why. We remove all of the people who are not going to participate, who never intended to. And there's going to be plenty. I will get 3% every month or 2.5%, and they would have just dumped on the market. Dumped. And there are plenty of people who have sold right at launch just to dump, and then we'll get 3% next month. Now, if you want to earn from the pool of, it's roughly around, I think, 600, 700 million a month coming out, on top of the FTSO rewards. All you have to do is take your airdrop that you receive, the 15%, and delegate. You will probably earn more in a couple months than you would have earned in the whole 3-year distribution. And you don't have to trust the exchanges. So participation is key here. You are getting an advantage by getting the airdrop because now you have a leg up on everybody else because you're able to then delegate immediately. And that gets the FTSO rewards, which if you're not aware of, is going to be once a week or twice a week. And that's going to be based on the inflation rate. There's going to be the highest rewards in the beginning. Then, for the first month, you have 600-something million come out if somebody didn't delegate the whole month. So it's going to timestamp random timestamps of your vote power. And the contracts have that built into it. Don't think of that 85% as your claim anymore. And now the proposal has to go through. It has to pass. But, I mean, it's pretty much, as everyone understands this, it's going to pass because the only people voting are going to be the people who are participating. And that would also be a random back history date too. So you'll have to be actually holding a token. So people who think that they could dump right out the gate and then come back in, you're playing with fire. So if you're able to just delegate, it's literally no risk to your principal asset. And I repeat, zero risk. You maintain custody and you click a few buttons in your Bifrost wallet, you will earn the weekly or twice a week FTSO rewards in FLR. And then the amount of vote power that you have delegated relative to everyone else who is delegating to the FTSO will determine how much you get. For those that delegate to the FTSO, will receive 100% of the month's FLR distribution that they would have received from the airdrop. So you're not losing anything. There's no loss. This means that those that do engage potentially get a much larger amount of FLR at the expense of those that do not engage, as it should be. As it should be. Because this is a network that needs to benefit. And if we have the network starting out, we have the ability, and they're the creators of the network. Now, they're still going to have to be voted on by the community, but it's like a no-brainer. We remove everyone who doesn't want to participate, and we reward those who do or already plan to participate. And now, the people who didn't realize what Flare Network was about are going to get a quick they're going to learn quick that you need to participate if you want to earn. And this is not about short-term price pumps and moonshots and get-rich-quick schemes. It's about establishing wealth early on in the beginning phase of a network that could potentially be worth billions, trillions one day, because it's an infrastructure and it has a design that other networks don't have. They're not able to engineer the token distribution the way we can here. And community will lead the whole governance. There's nothing that will be done without the community voting. This is a proposal. If you received, and I'm going to repeat this again, because I just seen it so many times, you're not losing anything if you have your 15% airdrop. You only can gain, and you'll gain massively. But it removes all of those who were just planning to sell. And if you were one of those people that were planning to sell, well, that's why it's a distribution. It's not your right. You didn't invest in the network. You're getting a airdrop which gives you the advantage. You'll get at least 100%. Now, it is a proposal. So there might be additional components to that. But for those who are participating in Songbird, remember how only 15 to 20% participated early on in Songbird. Now, this proposal won't be voted on until 75% of all the FLR is freely distributed where they could vote. I do not foresee the problem with exchanges releasing. That was because with SGB, that was a canary network. They never publicly agreed to release that. And that was a test network that Flare, warned that this, could have bugs. It was a canary network. That's why they didn't distribute right away. And I know some are still holding Songbird, SGB. But that's just a bonus on top. So FLR will be basically up for grabs. And it's the way it should be. If you're going to participate, you're helping the network. So by you delegating, you're strengthening the price feeds of the FTSOs, which therefore strengthen the F-Asset system with the inbuilt oracle. So you keep stacking this spark, it's going to compound and compound and compound. And then when the F-Asset system launches, you won't have to pay the agents. You'll be able to mint your own F-Asset and still delegate and still earn the monthly reward and potentially earn the underlying asset in the collateral system. So utility of the FLR token blows any asset. There's not even another token that comes close. And I'm being dead honest. That's not hype. Because you have a detachable governance vote. You have a detachable vote power token, which is used differently for different types of assets, ERC20. So WFLR is an ERC20 standard. but it has its own unique custom contracts that FLR designed and basically compiled as precompiled, embedded, ultra safe, super secure, multi-layer contracts that timestamp. Basically, you could detach the vote from the token, and it's mapped to the token owner's address still, even though it's delegated to the FTSO. And that delegation power is mapped. So it's going to take a snapshot of a day in historic time, and if you don't have delegating to the FTSO, you're not getting that month's distribution then. So you need to participate. And what this will do is it will weed out the freeloaders. And the freeloaders are there just to get free and dump. We don't need them. No network wants that. It's not an emotional thing. It's what's best for the network. And those who are going to govern the network are going to be those who accumulate the most, the way it should be. So there's going to be this phase out of people who think they got free money and they want to take it. That's fine. You're out. But those who do keep their airdrop and do participate, you're not stealing somebody else's distribution. You're just taking a bigger portion of the pie that you deserve because you're participating. This also allows those who miss the airdrop to now, they still have to purchase the Spark though, where the airdrop, you got it already. So you get a head start on everybody else and all the other communities. But you're not going to get free money and be able to just sell it. That's not what best for the network. So I am 100% for the proposal without a shadow of a doubt. And this is only part of the proposal. We don't know the whole thing. And then the DAO governance is going to be implemented and triggered to where the community votes. These are vote power tokens. So when you earn your F-Asset rewards, it's going to know how much relative vote power you have in F-Asset relative to everyone else who minted value in F-Asset to know how much to distribute to you. And it could map that all out, and it's time-stamped. So that if a DApp wanted to come along and say, we want to distribute we want to know who participates and who delegates, they're going to airdrop it based on who's delegating and participating. So if you think you're going to be able to trade in and out and get all clever, go for it. But just a little warning now, everything is time-stamped, from vote power to everything. It's public. Anyone could see it. You could see your own vote power. You can see what you do. And this is great because this adds a whole new dynamic. Because votes aren't really NFTs. They're not value, but they actually are utility. They are utility because they earn you rewards from the FTSO. And now they're also going to earn you the distribution rewards per month, which is absolutely amazing. And then it's also a governance vote. And now here's the real cherry on top. You could use that Spark as collateral simultaneously. I hope everyone gets that. That's so important. So important. Like, that's the definition of utility. Now, we're going to get to the interoperability parts here and what FLR built to attract developers. So that was just your part of, I'm talking to like the XRP community here. But they're going to be marketing to more developers, and they're not in control of the network. They're not going to have any administrative powers after the network launches and when the DAO governance is triggered. And when I say DAO governance, it's literally a DAO governance. Like Aave is a DAO, it's on-chain governance. And you'll be able to see everything, and you won't get a day, you won't be told in advance, like, the vote's coming up on Friday, and then everyone tries to like buy tokens. It's going to be based on a backdated random date. So this keeps fairness, and that's very important. And I think this is important also because this distribution, this 85%, instead of wasting it on people who had no intention to participate or think they're entitled and they want free money because they think they held XRP and they gave them something, it doesn't give you anything. The network, what's best for the network is what's going to always take place on community governed networks. I'm just going to reiterate here something. It's important to, I love the line that DAI uses, know what you own. When you own any of these assets, they're protocols. They're decentralized networks. The Supreme Court could come down and claim the Reeves test. They could claim the Howey test, anything you want. During this whole case, they call on XRP as security. Have you had any trouble going on XRP Ledger? Can you trade on the DEX? No, because it's an open, permissionless network. You're never going to have only accredited investors, all that nonsense. Like, ignore that whole noise. And this community needs to pivot and start focusing on what's in front of them. And there is a great wealth of knowledge of people in this community. But there's also a lot of things that I want to address. There's no secret ledger. There's no secret price. That just irritates David Schwartz, irritates me. Markets are markets. There's one price. There's no secret ledger. Moving on. So we got some good graphics coming out of FLR. This actually, I think, will help a lot of people understand what's going on here. So we have the DApp layer, which is third-party applications. We have the interoperability application layer. This is really what makes FLR unique, because these apps can build across multiple networks, but deploy on FLR and tap in to those underlying networks. They have the EVM capability. They have the FLR time series Oracle. They have the state connector, and it's all proven by consensus. So it's very powerful. So now it's finally a little visual to see a little diagram. And native dApps deploy once and serve many. FLR is an eye in the sky that can be reliably used to build smart contracts that use inputs from any open system, whether Web 2 or Web 3. Do we understand what that means? That means, remember the Susan Athey derivatives, the Codius thing that everyone went crazy over? Well, this is that, built in real world now, where if we wanted to know the price, the score of the New York Yankees game tomorrow, and there was an app that was built on blockchain, and it was based on the score and how long the game would go. If you could get yes or no questions, it could figure those out. And what the attendance was it above 50,000 people there or not? And you could add all these different derivatives and layer them on top. That's just an example. Will it be over 100 degrees in Texas tomorrow? And that could be one thing. And these could be, it's not just weather. We're talking everything from prediction markets to interest rates to anything in derivatives. So derivatives, we talk about quadrillions in the traditional market. Well, DeFi and crypto are going to take this to a whole new level, because now we can bring data in. Blockchains can't pull in data on their own. There's no blockchain that pulls in data. FLR has built specific systems that pull in data based on time series Oracle, probabilistic data. So there's no set price for XRP USD, right? It's a bunch of different exchanges, different market makers, liquidity providers, all different prices. But arbitrage balances it all out. This is why there's no secret ledger and no secret price. Just to reiterate that one more time. And comes up with time series to be the most accurate, and it narrows it down. I don't have the picture on here now, but basically it shows how the time series Oracle has had the price of ETH basically in lockstep with Binance. And it's been taking prices from hundreds of different places, hundreds of FTSOs. So this is a decentralized Oracle. So it means it's robust. The Oracle is the weakest link. And building on the network is what we want. We want developers and dApps to build and use these capabilities. That's what's going to drive value in FLR and in Spark. It's not going to be on the exchanges. It's not going to be on the secondary market. If anything, actually, this proposal and the whole design is designed to pull off the exchanges and onto the network where things belong, because the secondary market is not the focus of where blockchain is going. and DeFi. That's legacy technology, and they're all pivoting back. This next cycle is going to be utility based. But this is utility. So everyone who calls for utility, here it is. And it's got governance. And you can participate free. And earn. So, all this talk of utility, there's nothing to do with no central banks. There's no big JP Morgans. They're not involved anytime soon. What's gonna matter mostly in the direct impact of blockchain is community participation. Yes, there'll be mass adoption slowly, but more consumer apps. We need still to build infrastructure. Look at the XRP ledger. Still building. Automated market maker. Sidechains. Hooks. NFT amendment. It's still building because the utility happens based off the underlying protocol. It's not about a Reeves test and an asset and whatever, a credit investor. Waste of time. There's a lot of things out there. It's just frustrating because you have something that is right in front of you that you have the chance to participate in and be able to get rewarded massively. But everyone wants the quick, buyback from the Fed at $37,000. Like, come on. Now let's look at this engineering team. This is 8 doctorates out of 13 on the top engineering team. Let me repeat that. 8 doctorates. So there's 3 co-founders. We have Sean Rowan, who designed and developed the state connector and FLR consensus protocol, which isn't even fully going to be implemented yet. That's still being developed because it's going to take in basically the state connector as well and tie into those other blockchains. Right now, it's going to be running Avalanche's Snowman++ without stake. So it uses reward rate and vote power and randomness through an algorithm in place of stake that AVAX on Avalanche does. So it's superior. And that's one of the few breakthrough consensuses in the last, since like Satoshi. And when you think about it. So we have Hiugo as the co-founder. He's commodities and derivatives portfolio manager. Studied machine learning at UCL. Then we have Dr. Nari Ushar, is the chief scientist and co-founder. Postdoctorate researcher at UCL, working on quantum and classical machine learning, a physics PhD in quantum computing. We have lead system engineers, Dr. Ian Dorn, was previously a Kyber Network Solidity developer. We have the senior security engineers, a renowned cryptographic and security expert, doctorate. We have the senior Solidity engineer, doctorate, published 5 scientific papers. We have the senior automation engineer, who published 16 papers, doctor. We have the senior system engineer, doctorate. We have the Golang engineer, doctorate, patent holder, and published papers cited over 100 times, PhD from Cambridge University. So this is the level of engineering that has built this for 5 years. So whenever you see somebody on Twitter say, oh, that's a scam, this and that, just literally ignore it. All right? But get to the facts. FLR.
And actually, I'm rather thankful to be launching now. Yes. A couple of reasons. One, I think is less incentive just for people to take profits and go elsewhere. 2, it means that there's, less fanfare, immediate fanfare followed by potentially, a negative scenario where, let's say you launched at an extremely high price, and then the price comes off hard. Then, do you get, do people kind of get annoyed about that? Do people kind of say, oh, well, it's just a flash in the pan, it's not real? I mean, we've seen some very big networks where that have happened. Mm-hmm. I'd rather launch quietly and build the utility of FLR based on the utility that we're offering, based on the products that can be built on Flare. And don't forget, it's not just us that can build these interoperability products. Of course, we have our own ideas, such as LayerCake, such as relays, but anyone can use Flare to build something that is referencing an external system. And so, you know, part of our work is going to be telling people about how to do that, educating them on how to do that. And I think, you know, being able to launch during this environment where actually utility is what is needed, rather than, you know, very short term schemes to make large amounts of money, which is what a lot of the bull market was about. Not naming names, but we all know which ones. I want to see the next bull market. I want to see it to be sustainable. I want it to be based on mass adoption, or more adoption at least. That's what we're building Flare for. So yeah, I can care less about the price of these assets, to be honest with you. I get that everyone in this industry sees themselves as an investor. I don't. I see myself as a citizen of an alternate way of doing things. And, you know, if you're constantly rebasing yourself into dollars, rather than embracing this as a different way of doing things, a potential alternative future, then I think you've got the wrong mindset. I appreciate that is most people's mindset, but it's not mine.
Yes. And I think that's the quote of the interview right there.